All right.
Okay.
Good.
Well, hello. Thank you for whatever waiting you did. There was, as you know, a snafu on my timing, but here I am. So today is a big day for me. Today is the 1-year anniversary of Yahoo Tech, my new venture. 1 year ago today, we opened up, and we're doing very well. We had our first 3 million visitor day the other day. My latest video has had 1.1 million views, so we're doing great. So anyway, so I'm going to talk to you today about one of my favorite topics, and if you are here at CES, you'll see a lot of this on the show floor. It is what is being known as the quantified self. So I have 3 beautiful children, and they are terrific, 17, 15, and 10, but I swear to God, sometimes I look at these kids and I see that. The difference between, there's always been a generation gap, but I would argue that the generation gap has grown explosively in the last 5 years because of that. So this thing that they call a phone. This is not a phone. If you have children, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You could not pay these kids to talk into it. Like, they do not make phone calls. They use it for everything else. They use it for web and texting and Facebook, but not for making phone calls. But the point is, it has all these cool sensors inside. It has input and output for audio and video, and tilt sensor, gyroscope, accelerometer. The iPhone 6 has a barometer in it. Public acclaim was demanding, we want a barometer. The point is that people can write apps that exploit all these sensors and turn it into all kinds of crazy things. And just about every single one of the things that you will be seeing in the new year and seeing at this show is based on the phone. So, the Internet of Things, you'll be hearing a lot about, a term, by the way, that I completely hate because it's so grammatically, like, why is it that? Like, you don't say, I will put on my jeans of blue. You don't talk like that. So the Internet of it's like Yoda. Help you, I will. So I think they should call it like DeviceNet or something. But anyway, the other big trend, and again tied back to the phone, is what I'm going to be talking about today, and it's the fitness trackers. Started out very simple. These are glorified pedometers, the Fitbit, the Upband, the Nike Fuel, the Misfit Shine, little rubber bands that go on your wrist and track the movement of your arm. That's all they do. And through that, they calculate a rough approximation of how much walking you're doing every day and how much sleeping you're doing at night, which is really a fascinating element because, usually your sleep time is just this black hole of your existence and your memory. It's just this 8 hours when you were passed out and you have no record of what transpired. Well, now you do. You wake up in the morning and you see a graph of how you walked and how you slept. It tries to determine whether you're in deep sleep or light sleep. And interestingly, it's not only, you know what I think I'm going to do? I'm going to put this up here so I don't have to keep bending over. Okay. It's obviously not a very accurate indication of your actual mental stage to look at the movement of your wrist as you sleep, but it's better than nothing. The fascinating thing is you're not only looking at your own statistics, you're also plugged into the apps of those who wish to share their data with you, your spouse or your boss or your kids or your friends. So I'm looking at my wife's data here, and it's fitness through humiliation, basically. And there's a long history of this idea. They've done studies where, first of all, they installed a thermostat in your house that, in the study subjects' houses, that had not only the temperature, but the dollars a day it was costing you. And you better believe that had a powerful effect on data usage, on energy usage. And then they tried another experiment where they put a thermostat in your house that showed you the temperature you had selected and that of your next door neighbor. So again, this community pressure, this peer pressure, made everybody conserve more energy. Fascinating, same idea. People are talking a lot about smartwatches. This was the Samsung Gear, the very first one. Total failure. No one bought this. It's like wearing a VCR on your arm. It's like this huge, and it has a camera on the side because guys need another way to be creepy on the subway. and then it has a microphone and speaker in it, so you can actually make calls. But I mean, you remember when Bluetooth earpieces first came out? People would walk down the streets of major cities going, like talking to themselves. No, send a fax ASAP. I told you to buy the options. Like you never knew if it was, an executive or a home person. It's like, so this is the same thing. It's like, hi, honey, I can't hear you. What? No, I'll be home at 6. At 6. I can't hear you. So, yeah, nobody wants that. So, I mean, the thing about these smartwatches is they've succeeded in packing a lot of technology into a very small space, but nobody has asked the question, why? Why do we need another electronic to charge and buy and troubleshoot just to have it on a wrist? Well, the answer is, because I can look at my incoming text messages like that. Like, that's such a huge improvement over that. Like, or, I can make phone calls like this. Yes, because that's light years easier than this. I mean, like, it's the same thing. So whoever cracks the smartwatch problem is going to have to answer the question, why? Why do we want it strapped to our wrist? So Apple announced that they were going to do a watch, and what was really fun is seeing all the Photoshop jobs of people's efforts when they knew that the watch was coming but had not seen it yet. They were all kinds of creative, interesting approaches, a lot of which actually look cooler than the real watch, by the way. Yeah, not all of them look that cool. Yeah. But this, of course, is the real Apple Watch. And the two things, I mean, still don't know if it's going to succeed or not, but the two things they got right were, number one, people who wear watches do so partly to tell the time and partly as a fashion statement. It has to look good, which the existing ones that are just a big metal box do not. So this comes in 2 different sizes and 3 different metallic finishes. There are 9 different straps that you don't need a jeweler's screwdriver to take off. They just magnetically snap on and off. So that's the one thing they got right. The other thing they got, here's some of the different bands. The other thing they got right was on the bottom side, obviously Samsung representatives leaving the room. On the bottom, they put all these sensors, and the idea is it's going to be against your skin all day long. That is something your phone isn't. So that is something that you can make use of having an electronic on your wrist as a medical sensor. So these are infrared cameras and optical cameras that can sense your pulse rate and perhaps someday your blood oxygen and other medical stats. So all day long, this thing with its accelerometer will tell you how you're doing with exercising and how much you're standing and how much you're working out. So it's becoming a medical tracker like the fitness bands. But this is all just the tip of the iceberg that some people are calling the quantified self-movement. The idea that for the first time in human history, you will be able to study your own body without the participation of a doctor or hospital, right? You used to just have a physical. Now you're tracking your numbers all the time. And it is fascinating. These are some of the things that people have posted on the Quantified Self website. This is 2.5 years of her weight fluctuations and her pulse and his blood sugar. And this is kind of interesting. This guy plotted his sleep against what kind of work he likes to do at work the next day. And lo and behold, when he's tired, he doesn't like to deal with people. So I think we can all relate to that. So fascinating. There's a Quantified Self conference every year. It's growing by leaps and bounds. When I started Yahoo Tech 1 year ago today, I don't know if you've seen it. It's a digital magazine. It's quite beautiful. And it is a technology site geared for non-technologists. It's for normal people who do not read Gizmodo and Engadget. It's for regular humans. And a big emphasis on how-to and troubleshooting and what we don't run something if it doesn't affect you. So, there's a new CEO in Microsoft's Xbox division. Like who cares? So we won't cover that. But one thing I wanted to be sure to cover was the blossoming world of these health trackers. I wanted to be the guy on top of it. I wanted to review them all, test them all. Oh my God, there are 3 more every week. There are dozens, hundreds of these things. You go out there onto the show floor and throw a Frisbee, it will hit someone hawking a fitness tracker. They are everywhere on the floor. And they're not just wristbands, by the way, and not just accelerometers anymore. They're exploding. This one tracks how much sunlight you're getting. This one tracks your posture. It beeps if you slouch. This is the health tracking scale. It measures your, not just your weight, but your body composition, your heart rate, your body fat. My wife got, and also it tracks your biological age. So my wife got one, and she's 46, and she's like, oh, look, it says I'm only 34. I'm like, well, I knew that. You're a marathon runner. And she's like, you try it, honey. I'm like, oh, okay, so I'm 51, and I stood on it. It said 58. Clearly, piece of crap, just in its infancy. Anyway, there's health tracking shirts, and all this stuff is available here at the show to see if you really care. I mean, it's a gold rush, right? Everyone's just trying to stick sensors on everything that is in contact with your body. And most of it will fail, and some of it will stick. We'll see. This one tracks your temperature, your respiration. These are the health tracking earbuds. Kind of interesting because obviously when you're working out, often you are listening to music. So it makes perfect sense to have something stuck in your ear. And that's also a great place to get your pulse, is your ear. So it makes a lot of sense. These are the health tracking bike helmets, and the health tracking sweatbands, and health tracking hats, and the health tracking mattress. I'm reviewing this right now. This goes under your sheet and does a more accurate job of measuring your tossing and turning than the wristband does. And this is the health tracking bra. This is the health tracking socks. These debuted at the show. These are the health tracking forks. Oh yeah, this was the big hit of CES last year. It's from France, need I say. It's the Happy Fork. It is $100, and it has an accelerometer, and it uses galvanic response to know when it's touching your lips. So basically, it knows when you're taking bites, and your phone is sitting next to your plate, and if you are shoveling food too fast, it goes red and says, slow down. It beeps at you for eating too fast. Silly, but it actually works. The next example, I'm not sure about showing you because there might be Girl Scouts in the room. But I'm telling you, anywhere you can put a measuring device. Are we okay with this, or should I skip over? They have? All right, here you go. This is the Sex Fit. It is for the gentleman to wear during times of intimacy. And it has sensors that track his rate and his vigor. And at your option, we'll post the data in real time to Facebook. Yes. I don't know about you, but I think there are some things you shouldn't put Bluetooth. So, anyway, completely out of control. Oh my God. He wants to know the booth number. Anyway, so these things are, again, they're not totally precise medical devices. They're not scientific. They are a rough analysis. The New York Times did this great interactive feature that points out that they are nothing more than accelerometers. They're tilt sensors in 3 axes. So all the software knows is when that thing moved in each direction and how violently. So as far as the tracker is concerned, there's virtually no difference between your doing bicep curls and eating Doritos. It's exactly the same motion. So, but again, the purpose is not to turn you into a human study. The purpose is to motivate you. And it does work. It does work. You park farther away. I always park in the farthest parking spot now instead of the closest one. I get a kick out of it. My kids, not so much. And you know, you get off the bus one stop earlier, or you take the stairs. And like my wife will look at her up-band data before she goes to bed, and she's done this many times. If it's like 9,300 steps for the day, she'll say, I'll be back in 15 minutes. And she'll walk around and around the block to get to 10,000 for that kick. So it really works as a motivational thing. The second problem we're having is the coherence problem. There are thousands of these things. Each one has a different app. Each one uses different units. Like some of them use steps. Nike uses juice points or something. I don't know. There are all these different standards and units of measuring. They're very incoherent. There is some efforts afoot from Apple on the left, Google in the middle, Microsoft on the right to unify this. So they are trying to come up with hubs. So Apple has this thing called HealthKit that all these different devices will plug into, and Google has one and Microsoft has one. But right now it's the Wild West. It's just everybody using a different tracking method. This is what the HealthKit looks like. One thing HealthKit does that's really clever is it adds an emergency button to your lock screen of your phone. So if you keel over and your phone's password protected, who's going to know what medicine you need, how old you are, who to contact, whatever. So people can just swipe it, and there's your emergency details screen. But it doesn't need to stop at accelerometers, at tilt sensors. The progress being made this year, end of last year, in making these more scientific is stunning. Google X is putting sensors on the back of their watch. This is the experimental branch of Google that measures blood oxygen and blood glucose and stress levels through your blood pressure. Just unbelievable. The Microsoft Band, which just came out, has 10 sensors in it, also measures your pulse, also has a UV light sensor, so it'll tell you when you're getting baked and need to put on sunscreen. Absolutely incredible. And the great thing about having a heart rate sensor is that now, for the first time, they can track your sleep in a more realistic way. Because when you're asleep, your breathing slows. So your metabolism genuinely slows down. So it's not just a matter of seeing how much you're moving your arm while you sleep. It's actually starting to combine that data with how you're breathing. Google is also putting together this puppy. This is the Google X contact lens. That's a real picture. It has a battery. It has a Bluetooth transmitter. And it is measuring the glucose in your tears. So this is for diabetics who currently have to syringe themselves multiple times a day to measure their constant glucose levels, insulin and all that. Now, this thing will be measuring it in their tears all day long. They will never have to stick themselves again. So you'll see it on your phone, how you're doing. So an unbelievable tidal wave of data is being served up by all these gadgets. If you think about it, this is the largest human clinical trial ever performed. They sold 20 million of these devices in 2014. 20 million people are walking around with medical devices strapped to their arms 24 hours a day, generating important data about how they work and live and sleep and breathe and move. And all of this stuff put together is spinning off terabytes of data every day. And at a medical conference, I heard someone comment, a doctor comment, that the answers, the solutions to certain cancers are in those piles of data right now. If we could only parse it, if we could only figure out, sort it, and where you are and the time zone and what you're eating, what you're drinking, and how you're moving, and your genetics, you could figure out some of this stuff, common things. But right now, it's this siloed effect. The privacy rules are all over the map. I'm not sure I could send my Fitbit data to my doctor if I wanted to. A lot of people would really, really love to get their hands on this data. Researchers would love to get their hands on this data. Advertisers, of course, would love to have your life data. And insurance companies would love to get their hands on it. Do you know at the nation's largest hospital chain, the Cleveland Clinic, they have tens of thousands of employees, doctors, nurses, technicians, administrators. They require you to wear a fitness band on your ankle if you work for the Cleveland Clinic system. And your insurance rates, your health insurance rates, are pegged to what kind of activity you get in your life. Like, it's a lot of people are like, oh my God, I never want my insurance company to know. But it's happening. It's the big brother thing. And the insurance companies say, no, it's not creepy. It's no difference between that and raising your car insurance rates if you get in a lot of crashes. It's perfectly logical. We're an insurance company. We will make your rates lower if you're a lower risk. Why shouldn't we? Your rates for health insurance are higher if you're a smoker, and it should be. So how is it any different, since this is a better determinant of your health and your lifespan than smoking is? So it's on the way. But right now, it's a big mess in terms of privacy and who has access to it. So the important thing is, as I'm fond of noting, I've been in this business long enough to know that what we're seeing now is just the fumbling, blind beginnings. This is just the dawn. You know, people always say, I can't believe the iPhone 6 is so thin, so beautiful. And I'm like, this is not thin and beautiful. This is the Commodore 64 compared to what it's going to be in 5 or 10 years. I mean, can you imagine? We'll tell our grandchildren, when I was your age, the phones were, an eighth of an inch thick. You couldn't roll them up. So it's important to note that this is just the very dawn, just the very beginning. But I personally am super excited about it. These fitness things are amazingly enlightening. You know what else is amazingly enlightening? Drones. The quadricopters. I mean, there have been flying airplanes and helicopters for decades, but what's different is, number one, these things are completely stable. Like you don't have to take off. You just push take off on your phone, and it goes up to eye level and sits perfectly still, even in 40-mile-an-hour winds. It'll tilt, but it'll sit there. And secondly, the cameras. The cameras, you have to fly one of these before you die. These things are, think about your life. You spent your entire life like an ant on a piece of cardboard, right? 2 dimensions. Your whole world you think of as make a right, make a left, right? Birds don't see it that way. They live this way, and you never have. For most of us, getting to a height and looking down on the 3rd dimension is a specialty item. Let's have dinner at the top of that rotating restaurant, honey, for Mother's Day, or let's pay $500 and go for a hang glide. It's a big deal. And none of them are in your control. You don't go where you want, like a bird. These drones let you do that. So they let you control it. You're looking at the picture on your phone or your tablet as you drive the drone. And so you can see what it's seeing. You can say, let's go over here. Let's go over here. You've never been able to do that in your life. And it is totally mind-altering, especially when it's familiar terrain like your house and your schools and your offices. Like, oh my God, I've been in there all this time? It's so cool. So in the same way, the quantified self stuff is just, it kills a blind spot that we've always had in a really powerful way. So I, for one, can't wait for the arrival. So there's my thoughts on the quantified self. Happy to take any questions about that or anything else.
Have you tried Pogue Glass?
No, is that a Google Glass wannabe?
It's not. It's Pogue Glass. You probably heard about Google Glass.
Is that faux as in F-A-U-X?
Yes.
As in fake Google Glass?
These are LEDs. And
Well, that must make them real.
yeah, there's a right. We knew that you'd like this.
Yeah, I look even more like an idiot. Is someone selling these? You are? $4.99. That's a great idea. You'll sell more of those than Google will sell glass. Yeah.
And it's a club for everybody.
That's a really great idea.
Actually, there was a serious question. The Google Glass.
Yeah. So Google Glass is a failure. Nobody bought them, and those who did buy them did not use them. That I would wear. It's because of the social thing. It's not a technology problem. The technology is amazing. They've packed so much into there in an elegant way. But, I mean, first of all, the central problem is, first of all, they're $1,500. So there's a smugness thing. Like, I have them and you don't, And then there's also the small problem of the camera. There's a video camera on the front with no record light. You don't know when the guy is filming. So I was at this conference a year ago talking to this Google rep, and she was wearing them saying, so hi David, how are you liking it, Yahoo? And I'm like, oh my God, could you take those frickin' things off your face? Like for all I knew, she was streaming the conversation to the internet. I don't mean by being on, but I like to know when I'm on, you know? Like, it's a little creepy. So already there's a term for people who wear these things, right? They call them glass holes, because of that smugness thing. They are banned in restaurants, banned in theaters, banned in movies, banned in courtrooms, God knows locker rooms, you know, so where are you going to wear your Google Glass? You know, extreme bike riding. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's worth $1,500. So anyway, so fascinating experiment, big fat flop for good social reasons.
And then we famously asked you maybe 4 years ago to put on your future hat. And I'm wondering if you have any thoughts as to where we'll be in a child being born today. What will they be seeing in 20 years? Maybe?
Oh, I hate this question. I mean, the thing is, you don't know. If you could see the future of consumer technology, you would be Steve Jobs, and he's dead. So no one knows. You've got 3,300 companies out there making their bets on what the future of technology is. And 80% of them will fail or never see the light of day. I mean, this is a show where people come to experiment, run things up the flagpole, and most of it will go away. So all I'm willing to do is to use my assessment of what's blossoming now and make my predictions. And obviously, this is a big one. I think that these things will get so much like that. Like both the Google one and the Microsoft Watch are big and bulky and ugly and heavy and awkward and uncomfortable. Other than that, total success story. But they will get smaller and cleaner and lighter and more beautiful. And the amount of information it gives, I mean, wearing one of these can extend your life. Who wouldn't put on something like that? So I think the quantified self stuff is going to happen. And already, the wrist is not always the optimal place, right? So out on the show floor now, there's a Band-Aid. So there's a quantified self Band-Aid. So you can stick it anywhere. And it's measuring the same kinds of data. There's the Belty. You see that guy? The one that you wear right here. And as a side benefit, as your waistline expands, it releases the belt for you.
But don't you know, you're 51. Don't you sometimes feel, and remember where you started, where, you know, DOS and Windows 3.1 and, you know, the things that our generation has seen, that we are now living in the future?
Yeah.
We're living the future we imagine. We have these tablets that can do all of this stuff. And don't you just want to sometimes go that we're here now? I mean, this is what we dreamed of.
Sort of. I mean, it is true that I now find myself sounding like a grandfather when I talk about, you know, trying to tell a story like, oh my God, this one time I was supposed to meet my parents at the Chicago airport and they missed their flight, but I didn't know it. And they're like, why didn't you just call? I'm like, don't you understand there were no cell phones? You know, it's like impossible that they see my childhood as like black and white, you know, like all jerky, you know, like.
That's right.
They think, you know, just as we thought of our grandparents' time as impossibly quaint.
Well, if there's one guy that's been on the had a front row seat on this change, it's been David Pogue. There's a question here.
Yeah, just really quick. So, thanks for doing this, and I love how you always kind of bring it to like what real people are doing and not just the technophiles. So I guess I'm just wanted to push back on the watch thing. So you mentioned that it's a fashion thing, and that's what's different about it than a phone. And I wonder, is that going to? I see there be a potential holdup with watches because, or you know, wearables, in that you lose a little bit of that specialness that you know, people get a watch for a reason, and they're obviously going to make it at a price point that people that can afford phones can afford, and you're just going to see everyone walking around with a watch. To me, it seems you lose that kind of exclusivity, or like, you know, there's so many different types of watches, and people, you know, but there's only going to be 12 variants of you know, Apple's watch.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of companies are betting that they can be just as special. So there's, you know, some of these new smartwatches are like $3,500, you know, but designed by, you know, Tourneau or whoever. There's a bunch of the Withings folks have an absolutely beautiful watch. Some of these are fitness trackers, and some of them are more smartwatches. Like they're there to show you your notifications. You know, oh, somebody's calling. So they can still be special. But I hear your point. This is the reason you would never. Every year we're supposed to do a gift guide for Yahoo Tech, right? Tech is the biggest thing people give at Christmas time. So we're supposed to, like, everyone said, David, do an article on what phone to give you. You would never give a phone to someone for Christmas, would you? It's so personal. Like, I don't even know if I'd give one to my kid without, like, you want to pick the phone that you love. You wouldn't, like, say, this is the phone you're going to use any more than you'd buy a car for someone you don't know. You know, you have no idea. So the watches are kind of like that. You really kind of need to buy one for yourself. So still be special, but just not a gift.
We have time for one more.
So you talked a lot about the data that's being collected, which seems as sort of nominal considering all the investment in these products. But I'm wondering then, how do you extend past that in the application for children? So this seems like a device that grown-ups are wearing, but a kid doesn't really care how many steps they're taking in a day. So this kind of technology, how can you see it would have an application for kids?
Oh, we're already there. They have them for kids, and they get rewards for meeting certain fitness milestones for a number of steps. They make 5,000 steps a day, and they're physical rewards. They're an Amazon gift card or a Baskin-Robbins coupon, so that they can undo all the calories they've just burned. Yeah. But I forget what it's called. It starts with a Z. Anyone know what I'm talking about? It's the Zio or Z-Fit or something. Yeah, so they have them for kids. Yes?
Just thinking here as you were talking that, do you foresee a time where access will be the class differentiator? Right now, you're talking about the watch. Get the camera. I've got a particular desire that establishes me, as a class, if you're not. Do you think there would be a possibility that you get a point where actually access to technology, and maybe extend your life, will be as class differentiator?
Oh, for sure. I mean, we're there now, right? Every single thing. This, and that. That's all.
And this. Only elite.
No, that's within the reaches of the masses. Yeah.
Only the elite have this.
Yeah. I mean, it's a problem that's not going away.
And we have to fight to try to fix that with public libraries and schools, and we have to be very conscious of that because we are in a very elite state here at CES.
And to be sure, in 1 year, the prices of these bands have gone from $130 to $25. The Misfit Flash, perfectly good. It's the same exact thing as the Up Band. It's just plastic and not fancy materials. Same app on your phone is $25 and terrific. The Misfit Flash is cool because it's a wristband with a disc like this that does all the measuring, and it pops out. And see, the problem with the wristband approach is if you're biking, how much is your hand moving? It's not. You get no credit for an 8-hour bike ride.
But if you go to the theater, it's great.
What?
The wristbands count.
Because you clap.
Oh, they count claps. Oh, okay, got it. I thought for a moment you'd lost your mind. I get no exercise at the theater. What are you talking about? But anyway, so it's only because I know and love Robin I'm able to say it. So you can pop the thing out and stick it in your sock for bike riding, or there's a clip you can put on your clothes if you're going to be doing boxing or whatever, or and it's waterproof, so you can swim with it, which you can't with the Up Band. You would never want to do that with a lot of these. So $25. So anyway. The have-not thing.
David, we didn't talk about your kids at all. Have they taught you anything recently?
My son, my oldest, my firstborn, applied to colleges January 1st.
Oh, my God.
Got him in at 11:45 p.m.
Oh, boy.
15 minutes before the deadline. So that was, yeah, I'm sure.
I think actually his generation might be the one that's seen the most dramatic change from birth to...
Yeah, for sure.
Born in the internet, everything.
I was actually impressed that so you know that all the colleges have banded together and created the Common App. So you only have to write a single essay and fill out all your demographic information and school activities and grades one time. And then all the colleges can refer to that, right? So it saves a lot of duplication. And then there are there are supplements sometimes. But I'm sure that millions, 23 million kids a year apply to college. So all of them descending on the Common App servers at 11:30 p.m. on the last day.
Right.
I was impressed that it didn't, I mean, I was like, oh my God, it's going to say server's busy, you know, too bad you're not going to college. So
That's probably
I was greatly relieved.
well, good
at
luck with that, because that's a really exciting and crazy time when they go off to college.
Yep.
We had a quick meeting of the board of directors of the Kids at Play, and that's Robin, and decided to give you this lovely pair of Pogue glass. We want you to have it.
Oh, I'll come back every year now.
It has
Wow.
a horrible interface.
It has no interface.
It's really bad, and it does flash. So
I mean, that's really all you care, right?
Really.
That it flashes. Even Google's doesn't have a light that comes on. Well, thank you. I'm deeply honored and totally blind.
isn't it weird?
Yeah.
Don't look in any light, because it'll burn your retina out.
That is cool, and it doesn't fold up any more than the Google one does.
Exactly.
Just hold the last button down for 5 seconds and it shuts off.
Oh, does it?
Thanks for coming, David.
Thank you very much. Great to meet you guys. Thank you.